Come on. Do you need the mic, Vic? Yes, you do. You do need the mic. You ready? You ready? No, you ready? You sure? All right.
Hey everybody, how are you? Fun? Good day, right? So, Stop Street Harassment. This is the 6th annual Stop Street Harassment, by the way. It started here in New York City 4 years ago, I guess. The second annual. The first one started, it was a single day. And it was...
You have to hold it a little closer to your mouth.
Okay, there? You're good. Okay, sorry. So this is the 6th annual International Anti-Street Harassment Week. It started 2 years ago, I guess, as a single day, single event throughout the world. And it was pretty quick that it was obvious that in different parts of the world it wasn't all going to happen on exactly the same day, so it seemed even better to make it a week-long activity. Started in the spring, because why? Here we are, we're all out, we're probably wearing as little as we've worn for the past 5 months, right? And that's oftentimes when street harassment really kicks in, it really starts. Not that it's not a daily occurrence here, but it does really kick in when it's normal weather. And the movement, if you will, has really grown. It's a collection. Of course, how many, Emily, there must have been, you must have read off 15 different organizations here. It's really great. And if you can imagine, throughout the world, there's lots and lots and lots of organizations who are all either directly focused on street harassment or tangentially focused in some way, because it relates to a lot of other activities, a lot of other situations that happen. And so it's really great to see so many different groups here together around this issue, focused around this issue, and to have an opportunity to share kind of their story and their message. I'm involved in this because my daughter is Holly Curl. My name is Alan Curl, sorry. My daughter's Holly Curl. She started this movement 6 years ago. And she doesn't live here, I do, so I'm here sort of representing her, I guess. And so we organized the first one here in New York City 5 years ago. It was in up in Washington Square Park, and it's grown since then. This is a great group. Let me tell you just a little bit. So street harassment, what is street harassment? Street harassment is the unwanted, unsolicited comments or gestures from a stranger while in a public space. This situation, of course, can happen to anyone regardless of gender, age, or race, but of course largely happens to females. And it's males on females, the biggest category of that kind of event, or kind of situation. What's happened over the past few years is that, of course, we all know about this anecdotally and from own experience, but it's because of the focus and the attention that's kind of been brought to it. There have been a lot of studies that have happened now to kind of help quantify and be able to provide data and policy, which is really where it comes to. And so the first statistically validated studies have happened in the past 2 years, and they're pretty consistent throughout the world. 65% of females will experience street harassment sometime during their life. And of course, for many it's daily, it's multiple times a day. For many it might be just one time in their life. It happens maybe more in cities, less in rural areas, but it's a worldwide phenomenon. And of those females who are harassed, 23% have been sexually touched, 20% have been followed, 9% have been forced to do something sexual. Among men, the figure overall is still significant, but much less, 25%. For many women, harassment starts at an incredibly young age. 8 years old, 7 years old, 6 years old, 5 years old. It's horrible when you think about it. And for, again, many women, particularly in larger cities here, I'm sure many of you here in this crowd, it's a daily event. My own experience with street harassment has largely been informed by the women that are close to me. So my mother, an 80-year-old living in a quote-unquote really safe area of Salt Lake City, was street harassed walking her dog in her 80s. My daughter, who's a runner, Holly, who's a runner, was groped and grabbed, and she was out on a run in a pretty calm neighborhood near her university in California. And my wife, while in a parking lot in a suburban Washington, D.C. mall, was kind of was dozing and woke up and saw a guy masturbating in front of her. So it's and these stories go on and on. I'm sure these are like tame stories compared to many stories that happen. It wasn't until my daughter Holly, who founded the StopStreetHarassment.org movement and the organizer of this event, it wasn't really until I started to hear things that she was doing. I started to be exposed to a lot of people's stories that I became more educated and aware. And although never really a catcaller, I could ever say in my past, I probably thought like a lot of males, oh, catcalling is something maybe women like. Maybe it's a compliment. Maybe, it's attention, as Destiny said, that, and maybe attention's good, right? And because, like, when I'm with my wife and my kids, I've never seen it. It has never happened. So that's one of the insidious things about street harassment. If you're a man and you're with the women you like, you just don't see it. It doesn't happen, and you don't understand it. You don't realize it. You don't even recognize it. So as I started to hear their stories, it wasn't that I disbelieved them. It just I couldn't even. It was so foreign to me. It was so shocking to me. It was so I just was like, wow, I didn't know. And of course, I've come to really embrace and understand it better. And I realize now that for many women, what she wears, how she wears it, where she walks, how she walks, are all things that the typical man just takes for granted. But for a woman, you have to actually think about it. It's part of your strategy for the day. And I can only imagine it. I just can't even fathom it really. She may be wearing sunglasses, but it's not because of the sun. She may have earbuds in her ears, but she's not listening to anything. And those are just like I would never ever have realized that of my own self. When I started to hear stories about people who actually had to move because of their harassing situation, had to change jobs because of the harassing situation, just couldn't get out of it. I mean, these are like in the scheme of life, you just can't. It's like horrible. I mean, how could somebody have to move because the situation was so bad that it was just easier, as difficult as it is to move, as disrupting as that is to move, that was easier. That was a better choice to them than to walk out of their apartment or their building or whatever every day and have to face it. I mean, I can't even. Again, I'm in awe. We may all be here for different reasons, right? Maybe we're an activist, maybe we're a victim, maybe we're an ally, maybe we're a skeptic, maybe we're just somebody who's curious and sees this crowd who's walking by. But my hope is that for males listening, that we can step up to the responsibility that we have to our mothers, to our grandmothers, to our wives, to our partners, to our sisters, to our aunts, to our cousins, to our children, to our daughters, to any female that we see just as a human, right? That we can step up to the responsibility we have, not to be these perpetrators, and instead to support, right? I probably never would have ever of my own self done this, but now that I feel much more aware, I have found that I've had a handful. They're random, they're rare, but I've had a handful of opportunities where I could just say, "Oh, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help?" Just that simple thing oftentimes breaks up a situation without it being confrontation, without it escalating, and helps out in these random situations. I hope that we can find our own strategies then where we can be that ally to our female friends and people here that we encounter. So thanks to everybody for coming, for supporting this important event. Making a change of this kind it's culturally and socially incredibly tough and challenging. But I can just look back 5 years ago and see that the dialogue, that the amount of news coverage that you read on a fairly regular basis, the amount of dialogue that happens, not just amongst activists, but just amongst normal people, whoever normal is so much more today than it was 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when this kind of a movement just sort of started. And it's of course it will continue to only get better. making something happen starts with awareness and of course it ends with action. And wherever we're at on that spectrum ourselves, I hope that today we each move a little bit further on that spectrum toward some kind of action that really makes a positive change. So thanks again.